Okay, we are live. So today is day 8, I believe. Now, my goal is slightly shifted, but we're still on track. So that is what I'm going to outline for you guys today. So right now, I guess just to make it pretty clear for us, right? Right now is days 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yep, day 8 today. Okay, cool. And then tomorrow is day 9, which is Sunday. Day 10 is Monday. So day 10 is our go live date, if you want to call it that. So that's the day that we're gonna do what? Start our outreach, warmer and cold. Okay, and then that's pretty much it, right? That's the game. So today is going to be strategy and setup. Day 9 tomorrow is going to be same thing, strategy and setup, and then we launch essentially on day 10. So today's to-do list includes a couple of things. So I guess you can include this under that. So to-do list for today is 1, we're going to summarize the $1 Million Weekend. I ran through it yesterday in audiobook and took a couple of notes on it, so I just wanted to talk about those things. The second thing is I want to define what my freedom number is, because at the end of the day, you can't just be aimlessly shooting for any revenue. I have to have a number and a timeline in mind so that I can hold myself accountable and I have that sense of urgency. Okay. Third thing is we have the tasks before our focused execution, which starts on Monday. Because the goal is to not have to go back into planning mode during the week. During the week, I just want to be executing. Nothing else. Okay. And here's what we're going to be doing for setting that up. So we need to make sure that we have leads populated for both of these lanes. We want to create these templates, and then we want to review our metric tracker, because there's a couple of new metrics that we discussed yesterday over here, and we have to make sure that these are there, and if they can be automated, they're automated. So let's go ahead and first just hop into $1 Million Weekend learnings. So for me, I'm just going to go ahead and get here. I got this figured out, so hopefully this is a little bit better, but I don't need to do this locally. Yeah, that's fine. Okay. All right, so $1 Million Weekend. Let's just kind of dive in. Okay, so what was it talking about? Oh, okay, so I need to get better at this. All right, let's go here. Okay, so all right, $1 Million Weekend. Okay, I added 3 E's in weekend. Let's leave it like that. By Noah Kagan. Okay, so my TLDR of who Noah Kagan is he was employee number 30 at Facebook. I haven't watched the Social, whatever that movie is, but I believe that's about him. But he's essentially started a bunch of companies, and he has a couple of frameworks to keep in mind as you're going. The biggest one that stuck out to me was now, not how, right? Now, not how. Essentially, closing the gap between idea and action, right? But then between that and validation, okay? This is how I'm viewing it. So there's this spectrum, right? From idea to validation, okay? And you are trying to close this gap so that you can go and do this, and assuming this is your time, right? And assuming that this is idea, okay, action, and validation. Cool, right? So you're trying to close that gap. What we're doing right now, and one thing that actually a lot of people struggle with that they talk about is, how do you get started? What resources do I need? What should I know before getting started? What is the best software for this? What is the best approach for this? At the end of the day, there is, here, let's say, for example, this is all the knowledge that exists, okay? All knowledge that exists. within a specific subdomain, okay? The amount that you need to get started and actually start testing things out is maybe here, okay? What you need. And then the rest is what you build up through action, okay? Action, fail, learn, and then you repeat, right? That's all it is. So get to starting ASAP, get to this point ASAP by learning the basics. And I guess the way to practically do this is if you have a general idea of where to start, but you're struggling to figure out what resources to use, maybe choose one video, okay? After that, you want to create a project. If that's coding, you decide what your end goal is. If that's make.com automations, you decide what your end goal is. Essentially is decide end state, right? And then you want to use references, which is like video, documentation, etc., right? To fix and continue, right? That's it. And you just want to keep going. This journey that I'm documenting right now, there's nothing special about it, right? All it is me showing up here at a set time in the day. Anybody can do that. Recording a video showing what I'm doing. Anybody can do that. And then taking action, right? Anybody can do that. These are all things that anybody can do. It's more just about holding yourself accountable, which is showing up and then getting to the action phase as soon as possible. Right now, the way I'm viewing like what I've been doing, right? Like day 1 to day 10. This is planning, okay? This is me closing that gap from idea to action, okay? I'm trying to close this gap. But there's subsets to this because, for example, on day, let's say 3, right? Day 3, I went ahead and how do I move this down? Yeah, there we go. Day 3, I did the make.com automation, right? I didn't spend these 10 days trying to figure out how to make that make.com automation. That's something that you just jump into. So you close the gap between subsets, right? You're not doing it across the whole thing. You want to do across the whole thing, but that's not your only focus, okay? So the reason I brought that up is because this kind of explains where my mind is right now for why we're starting in day 10 and why we're not starting today. So in my head, there's planning. There's 2 modes of operating, okay? Modes of operating. Cool. Planning and executing. Both of these require different levels of cognitive ability, okay? They require different levels of focus. They require different levels of tools and knowledge, okay? When we're planning, right, it's very cognitive heavy, okay? We have to focus a lot and we have a lot of tools and knowledge, right? When we're actually executing, cognitive ability is kind of like at a flat line, let's say. Focus, yes, you need to have focus. That doesn't really change, right? Maybe not as much as this other one. Maybe I can do this. Oh yeah, nice. Getting the hang of it. Okay. Or not. Okay, let's just go back up here. So let's say it's like a little bit of focus, okay? And then tools and knowledge, yeah, a little bit of that, okay? The issue is when we switch between these 2 freely, right, it leads to cognitive drain, okay? Context switching equals cognitive, let's say fatigue. We want to avoid this at all costs because this is going to drain our ability to think clearly. So cognitive fatigue causes you to think unclearly, okay? and then lose energy and lose momentum, okay? So in order to do this, I need to have the baseline ready of planning. I need to have all the tools ready that I need. I need to have all the things set up such that when I execute during the week, I don't have to go back to any planning, right? We don't want to do that. And that's essentially where this step comes up. We're setting up, okay? I don't want to populate leads during the week. I don't want to create any templates during the week. I don't want to adjust the actual structure of my metric tracker during the week. Those are things I should not be doing, okay? So that's just like one thing I kind of picked up from Noah Kagan's book, just one idea that I was thinking about, okay? One suggestion he had for sales is go to a coffee shop and then ask for 10% off. This essentially is just training our ability to sell. Because ability to sell in my head, or at least from what I'm understanding, it is downstream of confidence. And confidence is downstream of struggling through discomfort plus surviving on the other side. Right? Because both of these combined, these create evidence. You do the thing, you survived it, you show yourself proof that you were still alive, you did it successfully. Now you have a higher level of confidence in yourself. Now you have a better ability to sell. So this is just something that we can like throw in as like general things to do in our day-to-day, right? The biggest thing I think that overlies all of what this book talks about is the customer, okay? I need to hold this a little differently. Let's go up here, okay? Okay. So the customer over the founder. Meaning, this person's more important no matter what, okay? Our goal here is to cater to the customer. Our goal here isn't to circle jerk ideas, right? It's cool to work on an app. It's cool to work on a side hustle. But me showing up here every day is more for accountability than it should be for me feeling accomplished. Because yes, I should feel happy. I should feel content. I should feel successful. But I haven't done any customer work, right? I haven't gotten any clients. So technically speaking, in the realm of business, is my business successful? Well, have I served any clients? Have I served any customers? Have they said whether my product or my assistance has helped them increase any metrics in their business? If not, then I'm just kind of working on a side project, right? So this is like side project, and then this is business, right? These are two different areas. And if you're founder focused, then you're going to be doing a side project. If you're doing customer focus, then you're working on a business. So that's just my understanding of that. One thing that I thought was pretty valuable for myself is I'm obviously being introduced to this idea of copywriting, okay? Which, to my understanding, copy is the text that you use in branding and marketing. And yesterday I was trying to figure out some basic A/B tests for Instantly's email, right? Email, okay? And what I was thinking about and what Noah talked about was how you want to bring story into your copy because that's what's going to drive engagement. Story and humor are two things to skills to actually bring that human connection. For somebody to read your basic email and then not put it in the trash bin, whatever, right? And they actually are like, okay, let me save this, or let me actually go ahead and reply, whatever that looks like, right? This becomes from story and humor, right? This is going to come from basic copy, okay? So that's just something that I need to work on. I need to work on implementing story in my copywriting. And if I'm working with legal firms, right, just some live strategy for myself, okay? I think lawyers, what is their story? Like, let's figure that out right now, okay? So what is the road? Let's go to our true and trusted friend. Okay. Close out. What is the typical roadmap, time, and stages for a lawyer from a bachelor's to having their own firm? Okay. So essentially what we're just wanting to learn here is, what is the story behind a lawyer who has gone through their life trying to get to the point of being successful, right? So here they have their undergrad degree, great. Everybody's pre-law, then take the LSAT, law school admission, 6 to 12 months. So a lot of test prep, a lot of applications, right? They get their JD, year 1, year 2, year 3, bar exam and licensing. Okay, you have to pass the bar. Typically, they'll join a law firm as a junior associate, and then they'll go ahead and progress in that if they'd like, or they'll go ahead in the partnership or solo launch. And then, if we see this, there's a lot of years that go into that, a lot of time, a lot of energy, a lot of effort, a lot of frustration. And so you're going from a bachelor's to law school to, like, I'm skipping steps here, but bar exam, to being a junior, right, to a senior, and then here they're either managing partner or you start your own firm, okay? Now, this is just like getting to this stage, right? But even from here, what I'm thinking that I can focus on is the firm itself is a business, right? So now they've done all of this, and all this at this point won't mean anything unless they get clients, right? This is just their education, right? But this is only going to move forward if they get clients, right? That requires marketing, right? That requires sales. That requires customer success, okay? Now, this blocker right here of getting clients, a client comes in, right? They send out, let's do this actually, roll it down here, okay? So clients coming in, they're sending out a message to 3 law firms, for example, okay? This one takes, what the industry standard is 2 hours, okay, to a response, right? This one takes, let's say, 1 hour. Let's say this one takes 10 minutes, okay? Of these 3, this guy could be super skilled. He could have been top of his class. But this one right here is the one that's going to be getting that person, because this client right here, this client, they are emotionally driven right now, and they just want help. That's all they want. How do you address those 2 things? Emotional intelligence, okay, and help, skill, right? But what matters most is this return time, response time, right? So this is where we come in, and this is our pitch. This is where we are helping them move from having spent years of their career to now feeling frustrated, balancing their skills in law with new skills in business. And we're basically like here. Right now, skills in law, you're at 100%. Skills in marketing or sales or customer success, you're at, let's say, 60%. Let's help you get to 65 and see how this affects your business. That's our pitch. So that was actually really good. I like doing that out loud. That was good for me. Another big note that he talked about in there was that email is for life. Man, I need to get better at these tools, bro. Okay. Email is for life. Okay. What does this mean? TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, whatever these are, if one of these went down, if a server went down, if anything went down, right, these are gone. I lose my following. Assuming I have them only on these channels, right? But in order to even make these accounts, right, I need email. And if I got everybody's email, then I have these people no matter what, right? This audience here, I have them no matter what. So the goal here is optimize for getting emails, and not in the sense that you have to be using and sending emails, but in the sense that you are optimizing to get people's emails. So one of some of the tips was first go to your immediate circle, right? Get all of them on, and then start with a thank you sequence, then go into a value / lead magnet. Like you want to give them something that's useful to them. You can go ahead and ask for feedback, right? There's a lot of kind of sub things here. You essentially, the biggest thing here is value. The biggest thing in anything is value, okay? Now, so that's it. Now I want to go into specifically freedom number. So let's do this together. Let's move over here. I like these canvases. It makes it fun. So let's see. All right, just checking what time it is so I can pray Fajr. All right. Let's use black. Let's keep it simple. Okay. So, what is your freedom number? Okay. So this is a monetary amount that you need to be happy, stress-free, financially stable. Now, I'm abstracting this over assuming you don't have to work a job, without a job, typical job, okay? So, obviously, I work a 9 to 5. My goal here is to attain this freedom number, which can just be MRR or AR or whatever you want to measure it in, okay? And my goal is to set both a number and a timeline so that I create urgency. And that's what motivates you to actually go ahead and do the work, okay? Now, let's kind of work backwards. So let's say, for example, and I'm going to be using very general highball numbers because the goal here is even in these subset areas, I don't want to have to stress about these things. So whether I'm running rent as $1,800 or $2,500 or $10,000, my goal is that I want to have a room for moving around, and obviously money kind of adds up over time. So my goal here is to compensate for that. So to live a, let's say, happy life, okay? To live a happy life, what do we need? What do we actually need? So let's say here, rent, okay? Rent could say 2,000, but I am going to be stupid and I want to have 10,000 allocated for rent, okay? For food on a day-to-day basis, right? Or not on a day-to-day basis. Let's say, for example, I want to be able to drop $50 at every meal, okay? Let's not do that. Let's do 150 because that's adding, right? Let's multiply that by 30. So let's say I want to be able to do that and I want my wife to be able to do that. So let's just generalize to 10,000, okay? I may adjust these as I realize stupidity. Rent, okay? Food. Now, anything that falls into out of other categories, like let's say utilities, gas, bills, those things, I'm going to generalize those into necessary expenses, okay? If we're going to say utilities is around, let's say 200-300, let's say bills around 200-300, let's say gas is around 500, right? Let's give a ballpark of about 2,000, okay? Cool. And then from here, let's say I just want flex spend, okay? And then I want savings. These are the things, right? So even from here, we're gonna have to backtrack a bit. So let's say flex spend. I want Maha and I to be able to each spend, let's say each $1,000 per month flex. Like this means on the fly, we can do what we want. We don't have to ask questions. So let's say 2,000, okay? And now here for savings, okay? Let's say a sub goal of mine is I want to buy a house and I want to do it with cash, okay? No loans. Goal here, let's say realistically, let's say we're shooting for $1 million in savings, okay? Now, if I want to have this in 1 year, so 12 months, if I want to have this in 2 years, or if I want to have this in 3 years, okay? Different tracks. So pretty simple, right? Like what our monthly savings would have to be, right? 1 million divided by 12, okay? What am I doing? 1 million divided by 12, right? I need to be putting 84K, right? 84K, okay? Let's do 1 million divided by 24, right? Now I need 42K. And here we can just abstract 21K, I believe. Let me just do this. Divided by 36 months. Yeah, so let's say 28K, okay? I'm going to say that if I want to get this in 36 months, I need to be saving this much every month. Then let's say that is going to be here as 28K, okay? Just start with that. So right now, happy life. This is obviously absurd. I'm not trying to be out of touch or anything. This is not even close to how much I'm making right now. My point is this is what I would want to have in an ideal life where I can travel, I can eat, drink, go wherever, do what I want. No restrictions. What does this add up to? So let's do this. 10 plus 2 plus 10 plus 2 plus 28. $52,000. Okay. Let's say $52,000 MRR. Okay. Now this is assuming 36 months again, right? Because that's my timeline of how much. Actually, no, that's not correct because that is how much I'd have to be saving from that point onwards. Okay, so that's not true, but we can either be doing that or we can up this by another 20K. But let's say, and then let's throw in, we didn't add travel in, but let's just assume that this being super absurd, right? Travel would be per month, right? On a monthly basis. let's say I want to spend 5K. Okay, so we're just going to up this to what? This to 57,000. Okay, monthly recurring revenue. Now we want to backtrack from here. Okay, so to get 57,000 monthly recurring revenue, right? How many clients do I need per month? So let's say I'm selling a high ticket of 2,500. Okay, here I can just go ahead and divide that, right? Let's say 2,500. Okay, I need 23 clients per month. Okay, maybe this is absurd. Maybe I'm now getting delusional. Maybe I am out of touch with what's possible or not. It doesn't matter. I don't care. This is just what I would want. Okay, so this translates to 28 clients. Did I do that right? 28, right? That's what we said. Divided by, what am I doing? Divided by 2,500. 23. Stupid. 23 clients. Okay. 23 clients. Now, a client comes when I have moved from discovery to close. Okay. Now, this is based on, let's say we have a blank percentage here, right? And then this is how many clients I would have in this point of the funnel right here. To get from to disco, I need to have from lead to discovery, right? Which is them booking a call, right? And then there's a certain percentage here. Let's first do a little bit of super basic surface level researching. What is the average of what is considered the average lead to discovery and discovery to close percentage for an agency business doing tickets around 2,500. Cool. So we can figure out the averages, we can figure out what our minimum threshold is, and then that's the target that we're trying to get every single month. Because technically speaking, from that point on, if we scale up lead gen, we're good on all other ends, right? So let's figure this out. Let this run for a bit. And I will probably, I'll pray after this. Good research, man. I like O4. I actually really liked O3. Hmm. 33% qualified opportunity merchant score calls. Okay, follow-up speed, rapid outreach, multiply booking close rates. So let's say I want to say just 10%. Keep it super conservative, okay? Let's do 10%, 10% here, right? So backtracking. 23 divided by 10%, because the opposite would be times 10%. Yeah, that's right. Yeah. So 230. Yeah, I'm doing that right. Okay. Yeah, so 230 clients in discovery. So this is how many calls I would need. per month. Okay. Now, again, before I continue, this is not assuming I'm a single person. This is assuming that we are an agency, meaning I've hired or I've contracted certain individuals, okay? 230 clients is just a rough test for me. 15 to figure out how many minutes how many minutes. So that number is how many minutes it would take to do all those calls, divided by 60. 60 minutes, divided by 60. So that's 57 hours. So about 60 hours in the month. 60 hours divided by 4. That's 15 hours a week, okay, of calls. Which translates to 15 hours per week of calls, which is not unreasonable, okay, for one person. Now we're going to figure out how many leads we need. So from here, 230 divided by 0.1, right? Now we have 2,300. So 2,300 clients is how many we would need per month reached out to. Now, let's say I'm going personalized Loom route. Forget instantly right now, okay? Let's say I can do 10 per day. That puts me at only 300 of personalized. However, if I'm doing, so this is how many emails are allowed per month. Let's do this math also. Assume I'm cold emailing. Assume average copy. If I email 125, if I send 125,000 emails in a month, including a 3-email follow-up sequence, what is the estimated percent of clients moving from leads to discovery calls? That's the question I want to ask, right? Yeah. So this is going to include open rate, response rate, and then booking rate. Yeah, nice. Open, respond, book. Have that right now. See, open rate, 27 is average open rate, okay. 5%. 0.5 to 2. Okay. Or about 0.5, let's say 0.5%. Okay. 230 clients, yeah, okay. So let's do that. Let's just assume 0.5%, okay? Let's say this is 0.5%, okay? Even in that case, so, okay, let's start off. So this is how many people I would need to be actually sending things to, but this is inaccurate. So let's actually adjust this. So here, right? It's not 2,300 because this is not that. This is it has to be 0.05%. Let's assume from here, let's assume we're only using instantly actually. So now I'm doing 230 divided by 0.05, right? 4,600, let me just make sure that's right. 4,600 times 0.05. Yeah, 4,600. So 4,600 client emails sent. And this is going to expand out to, let's say, a 4 email sequence per, right? 4,600 times 4. So a total of 18,400 emails. Am I doing this math right? Because let's say, assume I send out 125, divide that by 4. So let's say 31,000 per month. And let's assume times 0.05%. Nice. 0.05% is 0.0005, right? Yeah, that's why. 230 divided by 0.0005. There we go. 460,000 clients. Yeah, there we go. That makes sense. So that is our number. Let's do that one time. 460,000 leads contacted per month. Now, is this realistic? Who knows? Is this even possible with the amount of people that exist? Who knows? But that's what we're figuring out. But our point here in this exercise is to see, okay, for a specific life that we want, okay? Okay, you're lagging. Yeah, right? For a specific life that we want, what is the key thing that we need to be doing? And at the end of the day, that is sending out 460,000 emails with assuming average copy. Okay? So I'm going to break for Fudger, and I'll probably continue because the gym doesn't open until 8. But yeah, so, well, hopefully that was at least helpful in that sense. But I will see you guys soon.